Okay, tonight is the 6th of September, and this is the 6th night we're talking on the Theragatha, and now we come to verse 892, Anuruddha. Anuruddha is one of the most famous arahants in the Buddha's time. Leaving father and mother, sisters, kinsmen and brothers, abandoning the 5 strands of sensual pleasure, Anuruddha indeed meditates. 893. Attended with song and dance, awakened by cymbals and gongs, he did not thereby attain to purity, delighting in Mara's realm. 894. But crossing over this, delighting in the Buddha's teaching, crossing over all the flood, Anuruddha indeed meditates. 895. Forms, sounds, tastes, smells, and delightful things to touch. Passing over these too, Anuruddha indeed meditates. 896. The sage returned from alms begging, alone, without companion, without asavas. Anuruddha seeks rags from a rubbish heap. Stop here for a moment. Anuruddha came from a wealthy family. After becoming a monk, he looks for rags in the rubbish heap. 897. The sage, the thoughtful Anuruddha, without asavas, sifted, took, washed, dyed, and wore the rags from a rubbish heap. 898. The characteristics of one who has great desires, is dissatisfied, lives in company, and is conceited, are evil and defiled. 899. But he is mindful, desiring little, satisfied and untroubled, delighting in seclusion, joyful, continually putting forth energy. 900. His characteristics are good, conducive to enlightenment, and he is without asavas. So it is said by the great seer. 901. Knowing my intention, the teacher, unsurpassed in the world, by his supernormal power, approached me with body made of mine. 902. When I had the intention, then he taught me more. The Buddha, delighting in the undiversified, taught me the undiversified. 903. Having learned his Dhamma, I dwelt delighting in his teaching. The 3 knowledges have been obtained. The Buddha's teaching has been done. 904. 55 years have passed since I adopted the sitting position. 25 years have passed since torpor was rooted out. Stop here for a moment. So look, he has practiced this sitting, sleeping, or sitting, resting for 55 years. And he had been an arahant for 25 years. So you can see from here, it took him 30 years to attain arahanthood. 30 years of practicing this sitting position. So it's not easy to attain arahanthood. Even if you practice very hard, so it takes at least that amount of time generally. 905. There was no breathing in and breathing out for the Venerable One with steadfast mind, unmoved, aiming at peace. The one with vision is quenched. 906. With undisheartened mind, he endured sensation. Like the quenching of a lamp was the release of his mind. 907. These now are the last sense impressions of the sage, touch and the other 4. Nor will there be any other mental phenomena, since the enlightened one is quenched. That means his thinking, uncontrolled mental outflows, his uncontrolled thoughts have stopped. 908. Not now is there renewed dwelling in the company of the devas and snarer. Journeying on from rebirth to rebirth is completely annihilated. There is now no renewed existence. 909. By whom the world, together with Brahma's heaven, is known 1,000-fold in a moment. That monk, having mastery in the strands of supernormal power or psychic power, and in knowledge of passing away and rebirth, sees the devatas in time. This one, stop here for a moment. Anuruddha is supposed to be able to see the 1,000 world systems in the palm of his hand. His mind has opened up so wide that his mind, so that even 1,000 world systems to him is so small. Remember the story of the Shen Chuang going to the India, to the west, and the monkey god was very naughty. He thought his psychic power was very great, and the Buddha asked him to jump, and then told him he only jump between the two fingers of the Buddha, something like that. 910. I was formerly Anabara, food carrier, a poor carrier of fodder. I made an offering to the famed ascetic Uparita. 911. I was reborn in the Sakyan clan. They knew me as Anuruddha. I was attended with song and dance, awakened by the cymbals and gongs. 912. Then I saw the fully enlightened one, the teacher with no fear from any quarter, making my mind trust in him. I went forth into the homeless state. 913. I know my former habitation or lives, where I lived before. I remain among the Tavatimsa Devas with birth as Sakka. 914. 7 times I ruled a kingdom as king of men, possessing the whole world, a conqueror, the lord of Jambu Sanda. I governed without stick or sword, righteously. I mean, he was a wheel-turning king, as universal monarch. 915. From here 7, from there 7, in all for 14 journeys. I know my habitation. Then I remain in the Deva world. 916. In 5-fold peaceful concentration, fixed on one point, I have obtained complete repose. My Deva eye is purified. 917. Standing in 5-fold meditation, I know the passing away and rebirth of creatures, their coming and going, their existence in this form or that. 918. The teacher has been waited on by me. The Buddha's teaching has been done. The heavy load has been put down. That which leads to renewed existence has been rooted out. 919. In Veluva village of the Vajis, after the complete annihilation of life, I shall be quenched under a tree in the bamboo grove without asavas. And then probably could see the future where it's going to pass on. Actually, in one of the suttas, because he was Sakadeva Raja before, probably before he came down as a human being, so his former wife, Devi, from the heaven, came down to see him and asked him when is he going up to the heaven again, and he said he'll never go up to the heaven again. Parapariya, this monk also has a lot of nice words which I appreciate very much. 920. A thought came to the ascetic in the great wood when it was in flower, when he was seated, intent, secluded, meditating. So here he tells of all the things that came to his mind. 921. The behavior of the monks now seems different from when the protector of the world, the best of men, was alive. 922. There was protection from the wind, a loincloth as covering for their modesty. They ate moderately, satisfied with whatever came their way. 923. If it were rich food or dry, little or much, they ate it to keep alive, not being greedy, not clinging to it. 924. They were not very eager for the necessities of life, for medicines and requisites, as they were for the annihilation of the asavas. 925. In the forest, at the foot of trees, in caves and grottos, devoting themselves to seclusion, they dwelt, making that their aim. 926. Devoted to lowly things, of frugal ways, gentle, with unstubborn minds, uncontaminated, not garrulous, not talkative, intent upon thinking about their goal. 927. Therefore their gait, eating and practices were pious. Their deportment was smooth like a stream of oil. 928. Now those elders with all asavas completely annihilated, great meditators, great benefactors are quenched. Now there are few such men. 929. Because of the complete annihilation of good characteristics and wisdom, the conqueror's teaching, endowed with all excellent qualities, is destroyed. 930. This is the time of evil characteristics and defilements, but those who are ready for seclusion possess the remainder of the true Dhamma. And this is one of the verses I like. Just like nowadays, time of evil characteristics and defilements among the Sangha. But those who are ready for seclusion, stay in forest areas or forest monasteries, they possess the remainder of the true Dhamma. 931. Those defilements increasing enter many people. They sport with fools, I think, as demons do with the mad. 932. Those men overcome by defilements run here and there in the divisions of defilement, as if their own private battle with Mara had been proclaimed. 933. Having abandoned the true Dhamma, they quarrel with one another. Following after false views, they think this is better. 934. Having cast aside wealth and sons and wife, they go forth. They cultivate practices which are not to be done, even for the sake of spoon alms. 935. Having eaten their fill, they lie down, lying on their backs. When awake, they tell stories which were condemned by the teacher. 936. Thinking highly of all the artisans' crafts, they train themselves in them, not being calm inside. This is the goal of the ascetic state to them. 937. They present clay, oil and powder, water, lodgings and food to householders, desiring more in return. 938. Tooth cleaner and kapita fruit and flowers and food to chew, palatable alms and mangoes and myrobalans they give. 939. In medicines they are like doctors, in their various duties like householders, in adornment like courtesans, in authority like nobles. 940. Cheats, frauds, false witnesses, unscrupulous, with many stratagems, they enjoy the things of the flesh. 941. Running after pretexts, arrangements, stratagems, aiming at a livelihood, they accumulate much wealth by a device. 942. They cause the assembly to meet for business purposes, not because of the Dhamma. They preach the Dhamma to others for gain and not for the goal. 943. Those who are outside the Sangha quarrel about the Sangha's gain. Being quite shameless, they are not ashamed that they live on another's gain. 944. Not applying themselves. In this way, some with shaven heads and wearing the outer robe desire only reverence, being bemused by gain and honor. 945. When various things have thus turned out, it is not now so easy either to attain the unattained or to keep safe what has been attained. 946. As one might go shoeless in a thorny place if he summoned up mindfulness, so should a sage go in a village. Now there's a lot of thorns in the village. Have to be very careful. 947. Remembering the former sages, recollecting their behavior, even though it is the last hour, one may attain the undying state. 948. Thus speaking in the Salwood, the ascetic with developed faculties, the Brahmana, the seer, was quenched, with renewed existence annihilated. So this monk, he was thinking during the Buddha, when the Buddha was alive, the monks were practicing well. And now that the Buddha has passed on, there are very few arahants, and the majority of the monks are not interested in practicing the Noble Eightfold Path. They are interested in two things, fame or reverence and gains, offerings. Now we come to the group of 30 verses, Pusa, 949. Seeing many believers with themselves developed, well restrained, the seer Pandarasa Gota asked the one called Pusa, 950. This Pandarasa Gota must be an external ascetic. Tell this to me when asked, in the future time, of what desire will people be, of what intention, of what behavior? And this Pusa must be an Arahant, I said, 951. Hear my words, seer, called Pandarasa. Consider them carefully. I shall describe the future, 952. In the future, many will be angry and full of hatred, hypocritical, obstinate, treacherous, envious, and with different doctrines, 953. Thinking that they have knowledge about the profound Dhamma, while only remaining on the brink, fickle and irreverent towards the Dhamma, without respect for one another. 954. Many perils will arise in the world in the future. The foolish will defile this well-taught Dhamma. 955. Although devoid of virtuous qualities, running affairs in the Sangha, the incompetent, the garrulous, and those without learning will be strong. 956. Although possessing virtuous qualities, running affairs in the Sangha in the proper manner, the modest and unconcerned will be weak. 957. In the future, fools will accept silver and gold, that means money, fields, property, goats and sheep, and male and female servants. So this is something that even nowadays is happening. 958. Easily taking offense, fools, not concentrated in virtues, frivolous, they will wander about like quarrelsome animals. 959. And they will be conceited, clothed in blue robes, deceitful, stubborn, chatterous, sharp-witted. They will wander as though they were noble ones. 960. With hair sleek with oil, vain, with eyes painted with collyrium, they will go on the highway, clad in ivory-colored clothes. 961. Infatuated with white robes, they will detest the yellow robe, the well-dyed banner of the Arahants, which is worn without detestation by those who are completely released. 962. They will be desirous of gain, inactive, devoid of energy. Finding their woodland wilderness wearisome, they will dwell in villages or towns and cities. 963. Being unrestrained, they will associate with and follow the example of only those who obtain gain, and delight always in wrong means of livelihood. 964. Those who do not obtain gain will not be objects of worship. They will not follow the wise, even though they are very pleasant. 965. Finding fault with their own banner, which is dyed the color of copper, some will wear the white banner of the sectarians. 966. Then they will have no reverence for the yellow robe, and there will be no consideration for the yellow robe among monks. 967. This very terrible lack of consideration was unthinkable to the elephant, overcome by pain, pierced by the arrow, hurt. 968. For then the 6-tusked elephant, seeing the well-dyed banner of the Arahants, straightway said these salutary verses. 969. The impure one who will wear the yellow robe, devoid of self-taming and truth, does not deserve the yellow robe. 970. But he who has put away impurity, is well concentrated in the virtues, is possessed of self-taming and truth, indeed deserves the yellow robe. 971. Devoid of virtue, foolish, unrestrained, acting willfully, with wandering mind, without energy, he does not deserve the yellow robe. 972. But he who is possessed of virtue, rid of desire, concentrated, whose mind's intentions are pure, deserves the yellow robe. 973. The conceited, frivolous fool who has no virtue deserves the white robe. What will the yellow robe do for him? 974. Both monks and nuns with evil minds, disrespectful, will in future rebuke the venerable ones whose minds are full of loving kindness. 975. Even though being trained in the wearing of the robe by the elders, fools will not listen, being stupid, unrestrained, acting willfully. 976. Those fools, being thus untrained, without respect for one another, will take no notice of their preceptors, as a bad horse takes no notice of the charioteer. 977. So during the future time, will be the behavior of monks and nuns when the last time has come. 978. Before this very fearful future time comes, be of pleasant speech, congenial, with respect for one another. 979. Be with your minds full of love, compassionate, restrained in the virtues, putting forth energy, resolute, always of strong effort. 980. Seeing indolence as a fearful thing, and vigilance as rest from exertion, develop the eightfold path, attaining the undying state. So he's talking about the future monks. Now we come to Sariputta, 981. Of restrained conduct, full of mindfulness, like a mindful one, meditating with restrained intentions, vigilant, delighting in inward things, with self well concentrated, alone, content, him they call a monk. 982. Whether eating moist or dry food, he should not be satisfied. A monk should wander with unfilled belly, eating in moderation, mindful. 983. Leaving 4 or 5 mouthfuls, he should drink water. This is sufficient for the abiding in comfort of a resolute monk. 984. If he covers himself in the proper robe, which is for this purpose, this is sufficient for the abiding in comfort of a resolute monk. 985. If it does not rain on his knees as he sits cross-legged, this is sufficient for the abiding in comfort of a resolute monk. 986. Who has seen happiness as pain, has seen pain as the dart, and realized that there is nothing between the two, with what in the world will he be concerned? 987. May I never have anything to do with an evil wisher, who is inactive and devoid of energy, with little learning, disrespectful. With what in the world will he be concerned? 988. That the one who has great learning, is prudent, well concentrated in virtues, devoted to peace of mind, stand right at the head. 989. He who is devoted to the diversified world, an animal delighting in the diversified world, fails to attain quenching, unsurpassed rest from exertion. 990. But he who, abandoning the diversified world, delights in the path to the non-diversified world, he attains quenching, unsurpassed rest from exertion. 991. Whether in the village or in the forest, on low ground or on high, wherever the Arahants live, that is delightful country. 992. Forests are delightful, where ordinary people find no delight. Those rid of desire will delight there. They are not seekers after sensual pleasures. 993. If one should see a seer of faults, a teller of one's errors, a prudent man, one should associate with such a clever man, like a revealer of treasure. It fares better, not worse, for one who associates with such a one. This one is good advice, but very few people can take it, because if you stay with a teacher always telling you your faults, if you are not willing to change, then you get annoyed rather than happy. 994. He should advise, he should admonish, he should restrain from the improper, for he is the friend of the good, he is the enemy of the bad. 995. The Blessed One, the Buddha with vision, taught the Dhamma to another. While the Dhamma was being taught, being desirous of it, I turned an attentive ear. 996. My listening was not in vain. I am released without asavas, not for knowledge of former habitation, nor even for the deva eye, nor for the psychic power of knowledge of other people's thoughts, nor for knowledge of passing away and rebirth, nor for purity of the ear element was there any resolve of mine. Up here for a moment. So actually, after 2 weeks that he had ordained under the Buddha, he was fanning the Buddha, maybe on a hot afternoon, and the Buddha was talking with an external ascetic. And Sariputta was fanning the Buddha and listening to the two of them talking. Then when he understood the Dhamma, then he attained enlightenment. And after he became an Arahant, even though he had all the jhanas, he was not interested in psychic power. He was not interested in reading other people's mind or seeing his past births and all these things. So he never attained any psychic power. Even though, because he had attained the 4 jhanas, 4 rupa jhanas, 4 arupa jhanas, and even cessation of perception and feeling, which means his mind is very bright. When he closes his mind, as the sutta says, day is like night, and night is like day. It's bright. But it's different from psychic power. It's not psychic power. That kind of light, you cannot use it to see around you. That's why once he was with this Venerable Mahamoggallana, and they were in the forest together and meditating, and 2 yakas flew by, and one of them gave a blow on Sariputta's head, such a huge blow that it seems the mountain also could have split open. But immediately after that, the yaka died. Then Mahamoggallana saw it, then was concerned, asked Venerable Sariputta, "How are you feeling?" He said, "I'm okay, except that I have a slight headache." So Mahamoggallana praised him. Said, his samadhi is so good that blow would have flattened a mountain or something, and yet he just said he got a slight headache. So when Venerable Sariputta praised him and told him what happened, then he praised Venerable Moggallana in return. Said, "Venerable Moggallana's psychic power is so great." He says for himself, even there's a mud sprite, there's a spirit in the mud just in front of him, so he cannot see. He said. Where were we? Okay, 998. Near the foot of a tree with shaven head, clad in an outer robe, the elder Upatissa, supreme in wisdom, truly meditates. His real name, Sariputta, is Upatissa. Sariputta means son of Sari. 999. Having attained to non-reasoning, the disciple of the fully enlightened one is straightway possessed of noble silence. 1000. Just as a rocky mountain is unmoving, well-founded, so a monk, like a mountain, does not tremble after the annihilation of delusion. 1001. To a man who is without sin, always seeking purity, a hair's tip measure of evil seems as if the size of a cloud. And this one, I'll stop here for a moment. If a person is very pure, is very sensitive, anything that he does wrong, he'll be afraid of doing wrong. But a lot of people, because of greed, hatred and delusion, we don't bother with our conscience. But the problem is when a person is dying, all the things that you did wrong, that you didn't think was a big deal, at the moment of dying, they will seem very big. Those are our karmic obstructions. 1002. I do not long for death, I do not long for life. I shall lay down this body attentive and mindful. 1003. I do not long for death, I do not long for life, but I await my time as a servant his wages. 1004. On both sides this is death, not non-death, either afterwards or before. Enter on the way, do not perish. Let not the opportunity pass you by. 1005. As a frontier city is guarded inside and out, so you should guard yourselves. Let not the opportunity pass you by. For those who have missed the opportunity grieve when consigned to hell. 1006. Calm, quiet, speaking in moderation, not conceited. He shakes off evil characteristics as the wind shakes off the leaves of a tree. 1007. Calm, quiet, speaking in moderation, not conceited. He plucked off evil characteristics as the wind plucks off leaves from a tree. 1008. Calm, without grief, settled and undisturbed, of good virtue, prudent, he should put an end to pain. 1009. One should not in this way put trust in some householders or even those who have gone forth. Even when they have been good, some become bad. But having been bad, some become good. Stop here for a moment. So people can change. Some people, they might be practicing well, another day they turn bad. One extreme sometimes can go to another extreme. 1010. Desire for sensual pleasures, malevolence, sloth and torpor, conceit and uncertainty. These are the 5 defilements of the mind for a monk. 1011. Whose concentration does not waver, both while he is being honored and because of lack of honor, since he lives in a state of vigilance, meditating, persevering, having subtle insight into views, having delight in the annihilation of grasping. Him they call a good man. 1013. Even the great sea, the earth, a mountain, and the wind are not applicable in simile to the teacher's excellent release. 1014. Keeping the wheel rolling, having great knowledge, concentrated, being like earth, water, fire, the elder is not attached, he is not opposed. Stop here for a moment. He's like earth, water, fire. This simile the Buddha gave to his son Rahula. He said to Rahula, be like the earth. When you spit on the earth doesn't react. When you shit on the earth or do anything to the earth, burn the earth, so it doesn't react. In the same way, water and fire. So it's just like the gong is already cracked. When you hit it, there's no sound, no reaction. That's the Arahant. 1015. Having attained the perfection of wisdom, having great discernment and great thought, not dull, but as though dull, he always wonders, quench. So a person with great wisdom, he acts like a fool. You don't know. 1016. The teacher has been waited on by me. The Buddha's teaching has been done. The heavy load has been put down. That which leads to renewed existence has been rooted out. 1017. Strive with vigilance. This is my advice. Come now, I shall be quenched. I am completely released in every way. Now we come to the famous Venerable Ananda, 1018. A clever man should not make friends with a malicious man, or an angry man, or an envious man, one delighting in others' misfortunes. Contact with a bad man is evil. 1019. A clever man should make friends with a man of faith and a pleasant man, and one with wisdom and one with great learning. Contact with a good man is fortunate. 1020. See the painted puppet, a heap of sores, a compounded body, diseased, with many bad intentions, for which there is no permanent stability. 1021. Of great learning, a brilliant speaker, attendant of the Buddha, having laid down his burden, unfettered, Gotama lies down to sleep. Gotama refers to the Ananda. It's a Gotama clan. 1022. With asavas annihilated, unfettered, past all attachments, well quenched, he bears his last body, having reached the far shore of birth and death. 1023. This Gotama stands on the way leading to quenching, on which the teachings of the Buddha, kinsman of the sun, are well founded. 1024. 82,000 I received from the Buddha, 2,000 from the monks. These 84,000 are current teachings. 1025. This man of little learning grows old like an ox. His flesh increases, but his wisdom does not increase. 1026. The man of great learning who despises the man of little learning because of his learning seems to me just like a blind lamp bearer. 1027. One should be the follower of a man of great learning, and one should not destroy learning. This is the root of the holy life. Therefore, one should be an expert in the Dhamma. This is good advice. This Dhamma is the root of the holy life. If you are not an expert in the Dhamma, you won't go very far in the holy life. 1028. Knowing what comes first and last, knowing the meaning, well skilled in understanding words and their interpretation, he seizes it in a good grasp and examines the meaning. 1029. Because of receptivity, he is eager. Having made an effort, he weighs it. At the right time, he exerts himself, well concentrated insight. 1030. Desiring understanding of the Dhamma, one should associate with that disciple of the Buddha who has great learning, is expert in the Dhamma, possesses wisdom, is of such a kind. 1031. Of great learning, expert in the Dhamma, guardian of the great seer's treasury, the eye of the whole world, fit to be worshipped, of great learning. The monk who has delight in the Dhamma, who delights in the Dhamma, meditating on the Dhamma, recollecting the Dhamma, does not fall away from the true Dhamma. 1033. Whence will comfort as an ascetic come for one who is heavy with selfishness of body and greedy for bodily happiness? You are fading away, not exerting yourself. 1034. All the directions are obscure, the doctrines are not clear to me. Our good friend having died, it seems like darkness. This one probably refers to the time when either Venerable Sariputta or Venerable Moggallana passed away. 1035. For one whose comrade has passed away, for one whose master is dead and gone, there is no friend like mindfulness concerning the body. 1036. The old ones have passed away. I do not get on with the new ones. Today I meditate all alone, like a bird gone to its nest. 1037. Do not hinder the many belonging to various different countries who have come to see me. Let the hearers, the congregation, see me. 1038. The teacher gives them an opportunity. The one with vision does not hinder the many belonging to various different countries who have come to see. 1039. No conception of sensual pleasure arose in me. During the 25 years I was a learner, that means an Arya. See the essential rightness of the Dhamma. 1040. No conception of hatred arose in me. During the 25 years I was a learner. See the essential rightness of the Dhamma. 1041. For 25 years I served the Blessed One with loving deeds, like a shadow not going away from him. 1042. For 25 years I served the Blessed One with loving words, like a shadow not going away from him. 1043. For 25 years I served the Blessed One with loving thoughts, like a shadow not going away from him. So you see, the Venerable Ananda was so devoted to the Buddha that he didn't have much time to practice and become an Arahant. 1044. I paced up and down behind the Buddha while he paced up and down. While the Dhamma was being taught, knowledge arose in me. 1045. I am a learner who still has something to do, not having attained mental perfection, and the quenching has occurred of the teacher who was sympathetic to me. So he's saying he's not perfect yet, and the Buddha has passed on. 1046. Then there was terror, then there was excitement, when the fully enlightened one, possessed of all excellent qualities, had been quenched. 1047. Of great learning, expert in the Dhamma, guardian of the great seer's treasury, the eye of the whole world, Ananda is quenched. He attained liberation. 1048. Of great learning, expert in the Dhamma, guardian of the great seer's treasury, the eye of the whole world, in mental blindness, a dispeller of the darkness of ignorance. 1049. The seer who was possessed of resourcefulness, mindfulness and resolution, upholder of the true Dhamma, the elder Ananda, mine of jewels. This jewels is the Dhamma, mine of jewels. He knows so much Dhamma. 1050. The teacher has been waited on by me. The Buddha's teaching has been done. The heavy load has been put down. That which leads to renewed existence has been rooted out. Kassapa. 1051. One should not wander, revered by the crowd. One becomes distracted. Concentration is hard to obtain. Seeing that the favor of all kinds of people is painful, one should not approve of a crowd. 1052. A sage should not visit high-born families. He becomes distracted. Concentration is hard to obtain. He is greedy and desirous of flavors, misses the goal which brings happiness. 1053. They know that this respect and homage in high-born families is truly a bog or a swamp, a fine dart, hard to extract. Honor is hard for a worthless man to give up. 1054. Coming down from my lodging, I entered a city to beg. I respectfully stood by a leper who was eating. 1055. he offered a portion to me with his rotting hand. As he was throwing the piece into my bowl, his finger too broke off there. 1056. But near the foot of a wall I ate that portion. No disgust arose in me, either while it was being eaten or when it had been eaten. 1057. For whom leftover scraps suffice as food, smelly urine as medicine, the foot of a tree as lodging, a rag from a dust heap as robe, he truly is a man of the four quarters. Stop here for a moment. So you see this leper, the whole body is rotting, and he even is so compassionate. He comes to this smelly leper to get his food, and when this leper threw a piece of food to him, the finger have rotted so much, also broke off. And yet he didn't feel disgust. So you see, if a person only practices mindfulness, that disgust will arise, the aversion will arise. It's only when his mind is so well controlled that he doesn't want disgust to arise, it doesn't arise. 1058. Where some are killed climbing up the mountain, there Kassapa climbs, the heir of the Buddha, attentive, mindful, supported by his psychic power. 1059. Return from alms begging, climbing the rock, Kassapa meditates without grasping, with fear and dread eliminated. So you see, because of his psychic power, even the sheer face of the cliff or so, because of his psychic power, he can climb up. Not afraid of falling. 1060. Return from alms begging, climbing the rock, Kassapa meditates without grasping, quench among those who burn. 1061. Return from alms begging, climbing the rock, Kassapa meditates without grasping, his task done without asavas. 1062. Spread with garlands of kareri, the regions of the earth are delightful, resounding with elephants, those lovely rocks delight me. 1063. Those rocks delight me, the color of blue clouds, beautiful, cool with water, having pure streams, covered with Inda Gopaka insects. 1064. Like the ridge of a blue cloud, like an excellent gable house, resounding with elephants, those lovely rocks delight me. 1065. The lovely surfaces are rained upon, the mountains are resorted to by seers, made to resound by peacocks, those rocks delight me. 1066. It is enough for me, desiring to meditate, resolute, mindful. It is enough for me, a resolute monk, desirous of the goal. 1067. It is enough for me, a resolute monk, desirous of comfort. It is enough for me, a resolute venerable one, desirous of application of mind. 1068. Being covered with flax flowers as the sky is covered with clouds, full of flocks of various birds, those rocks delight me. 1069. Not filled with householders, but resorted to by herds of deer, full of flocks of various birds, those rocks delight me. 1070. With clear water and wide cracks, haunted by monkeys and deer, covered with oozing moss, those rocks delight me. 1071. There is not such pleasure from the fivefold music as there is for someone with intent mind, rightly having insight into the Dhamma. 1072. One should not do much work, one should avoid people, one should not exert oneself. He who is greedy and desirous of flavors misses the goal which brings happiness. 1073. One should not do much work, one should avoid that which leads to the goal, which does not lead to the goal. The body suffers and is fatigued. Being pained, it does not find calmness. Stop here for a moment. So if a person wants to progress in this meditation, it's not advisable to do too much work. But still, the Buddha's monks, even though they try not to do work, when it's necessary, they work. We find in the Vinaya books, there's one Vasa, when Mahamoggallana, he got the monks to help him. They built 500 kutis for the Sangha. during the Vasa. So probably the whole Vasa they were building. Just like our well-known Lumpur Sumedo, the first 10 years when they built Amaravati, their center in England, seems the first 10 years they were busy from morning to night, working for the good of the many folk, for the good of the Sangha. 1074. By merely touching the lips together, one does not see the self. One wanders around stiff-necked. One thinks, I am better. Stop here for a moment. This refers to external ascetics who refuse to talk. So if they touch the lips together, they never open their lips. So they remain silent and they think they are better than other people. 1075. Not better. The fool thinks of himself as though better. Wise men do not praise that stiff-minded one. 1076. But he who does not waver in the modes of self-conceit, such as thinking, I am better, or again, I am not better, or I am worse, or I am equal. 1077. That venerable one, being possessed of wisdom in that way, being well concentrated in virtues, possessed of mental calm, the wise indeed praise. 1078. He who has no reverence for those living the holy life with him is far from the true Dhamma, as the earth is from the sky. 1079. But the holy life of those whose modesty and bashfulness are always rightly established has come to growth. The renewed existences are annihilated. 1080. A conceited and vain monk, clad in a rag from a dust heap, does not seem impressive because of it, like a monkey in a lion's skin. 1081. One who is not conceited, not vain, zealous, with faculties restrained, does appear impressive because of his rag from a dust heap, like a lion in a mountain cave. 1082. These numerous famous devas with psychic powers, 10,000 devas, all of them belonging to the company of Brahma, stand with cupped hands, revering Sariputta, Dhamma general, hero, great meditator, concentrated. 1084. Homage to you, thoroughbred of men. Homage to you, best of men. We do not understand even that upon which you meditate. 1085. A truly wonderful thing is the Buddha's own profound posture. We do not understand them, although we have come here as hair-splitting archers. 1086. Then when he saw that Sariputta worshipped in that way by the groups of devas and worthy of worship, there was a smile on Kapina's face. Stop here for a moment. This Mahakapina is another Arahant with great psychic power. We saw in one of the suttas, the Buddha asked the other monks to look at him. He said, look at this monk coming. He's lean with a sharp nose. It's a great psychic power, Mahakapina. One of the 4 monks, when the Buddha flew to the Brahma heavens and emitted light, looking down at the Brahmas, 4 of the Arahants flew up together to join the Buddha and all emitted light. Mahakapina was one of them, Mahakassapa, Mahamoggallana, and I think Anuruddha. 1087. As far as this Buddha field is concerned, except for the great sage himself, I am outstanding in the qualities of shaking off. There is none like me. 1088. The teacher has been waited on by me. The Buddha's teaching has been done. The heavy load has been put down. That which leads to renewed existence has been rooted out. 1089. Gotama the immeasurable does not cling to robe or bed or food. As the lotus flower is not spotted by water, he is bent upon going forth, entirely detached from the 3 planes of existence. 1090. The great sage has application of mindfulness for his neck, faith for his hands, wisdom for his head. Having great knowledge, he always wanders quenched. If I continue, we still have now another 117 page, another 17 pages. So maybe I'll continue tomorrow. Anything to discuss? Say again. Page 92.
Yes.
Okay.
Triple nine.
Triple.
Attain to non-reasoning. Can you explain this?
This reasoning is when we use our mind, thinking. Thinking. So when you attain to non-reasoning, you don't reason with your mind anymore, you don't think anymore. The disciple of the enlightened one is straight away possessed of noble selves. There are two explanations. One is in the second jhana, when a person attains the second jhana, the mind is so concentrated that the thought cannot arise. That is called the state of the noble silence. Another one could be that when a person becomes an arahant, then he has no more uncontrolled mental outflows. He does not have stray thoughts anymore. He does not think of this and think of that. But if he wants to think, it's all control.
Okay. Basically, Kawai mentioned that through chanting a person can attain jhanas. I've never heard of that before. Is that true?
The other day he asked me whether it's not chanting, general chanting. It's like this, chanting the 32 parts of the body. So the fact that the Buddha taught his disciples this as the first meditation, so my opinion is that it is possible, probably, that chanting something non-stop, the same thing again and again and again, then it's probable that one can attain the first jhana. I think the Visuddhimagga also says that, but then Visuddhimagga is not the Buddha's words.
Can Bhante give an example about Vihara and Vichara? For example, taking breath taking Anapanasati as an example. How, in what occasion we have Vihara without Vichara? In what occasion we have Vichara without Vihara?
Okay. This, I think I mentioned before, if you're practicing Anapanasati, you're mindful of the breath. So you're trying to be mindful of your breath as it goes in and as it goes out. So when your mind runs away to your workplace or to your family and all that, you pull it back. That is called vitakka, thought directed at your object. Okay? And then you stay with your object, stay with your breathing, your mindfulness, stay with your breathing, and that is vichara, thought sustain on your object. Okay, so every time it runs away, you pull it back, that's using vitakka, and then you keep it on the breath, that's vichara. Okay, but you may have a person whose mind is so disturbed that his mind is always running away. When his mind runs away, he pulls it back. In no time, it runs away again, he pulls it back. So he has no vichara, he's not able to sustain on the breath. Okay? So he's keep pulling back all the time, pulling back. That is a person with only with vitakka. Okay? Then if a person has developed the kung fu, then his mind does not wander so much. So he's almost all of the time is on the breath. So he has vichara. He seldom needs to use vitakka. It's already on the breath as vichara. Okay?
I would like to refer to 916, verse 916, page 86. Onto that. Can somebody please enlighten us on what means by fivefold peaceful concentration?
This fivefold peaceful concentration could refer to the 5 jhana factors. When you have the 5 jhana factors, then you have one-pointedness of mind. You attain the first jhana.
The other one is from Canada, 1036, page 95.
Just now that question, fivefold peaceful concentration, it could also mean the concentration supported by the 5 faculties, maybe.
But then if the second verse is it referring to the same? The next verse says centering in fivefold meditation.
Just have to check the Pali. Okay, the next one.
The next one is Venerable Ananda, 1036. It's quite interesting to learn that as an area. Within here, Venerable Ananda has not gained liberation. Says the old ones have passed away and not get on with the new ones to be identified or learn and come to the As an area, he has the so we begin that there's no disease like life and it's like or he doesn't get on with
Yeah, I think even if he's an Arahant, that is possible. Because those new monks, they are greedy. They are not greedy for offerings. They are not interested in meditation and all that. So even the Buddha also, he doesn't like to keep company with such monks. There was a time, there's one sutta where many monks, 500 monks or something, came to the monastery. And they made a lot of noise when they start to greet each other and all that. And when the Buddha found out, just chased them out of the monastery. The Buddha don't want noisy people around him. So even Arahant also is possible.
The other one is more on the way effect of the life and the Vihara. In those days, when they have so many monks, so I'm just curious as to how do they take care of the welfare of the monks in the Vihara.
What do you mean by take care of the welfare?
Say they fall sick or they need things. But for Buddha, we've seen that he travels, he needs water, he has to go and back from households. So in this case, if a community of them stay together, so I was wondering how we support each other. If they go for alms round, then say if somebody falls sick, they go out to get support.
Yeah, but not all the monks have to go on Pindapata. If they have a good reputation, they will get a lot of food. One monk can get 2 or 3 monks' food, or even more. So they can share. So the younger monks will normally, according to Vinaya, the younger monks will look after the whatever work is necessary. Also like looking after a sick monk, certain monks are good at it. Those who are better at it, then they will do it. And also seeing the affinity, this affinity, this friendship is cultivated over years. So when another monk falls sick, is a friend of this of a particular monk, the particular monk will like to look after him. Just like a family member falls sick, who's going to look after him? The one that's closest to him will look after him. It's the same.
Just when we were in Thailand, a couple of monasteries that we stayed in, we find that the monks, they go up individually and come back, they keep on their own. So I was wondering, this being the last time, do they practice the same way?
Some like to do that. Some like to eat with the others, but whatever it is, I'm sure the monks will have their own particular friends. Some will have less, some will have more, and if the monk is a type that does not want to mix with anybody, then maybe he's an arahant. Then those who respect him will look after him, even though they don't really know him well. They respect him for his attainment.
I just want to out of curiosity, but yes, live in very large monastery before. So how do they look after monks or the residents when they live or when they sick or whatever? Do you have certain people to look after the needs of?
Generally, like in the Thai tradition, the abbot is like the general. So he directs the monks to do this and do that. So he may have assistants, what is called the Sangha officers in the Vinaya books, those with particular duties. For example, one monk might be in charge of the store. Another monk might be in charge of invitations. If lay people come and invite the monks to go for house dana, then there'll be a particular monk who will be in charge of nominating which monk, choosing which monk to go for house dana. Another one might be in charge of the kuti, to allot the kuti. Another one might be in charge of maintenance. So there might be one in charge of looking after sick monks. Then he will probably order whatever medicine is necessary and all these things. So it depends all on the CEO, the abbot. If you have a good CEO, then everything will be run very nicely. You don't have a good CEO, then the monastery is a bit of a chaos. There are some monasteries where the Vinaya is no good, then the monks are selfish, especially like city monasteries. Then all the monks are thinking of money, and as they say, kiki ku kiki. Everybody each looks after the other. I've also gone to such a ward, and I see sometimes the monk is sick. Nobody bothers with him. Okay, shall we stop here?